The chamber was silent. 247 species held their breath as the verdict came down. The lights from distant stars filtered through the massive windows of the council station, casting long shadows across the circular floor where Taeyang stood alone. He did not move. His hands remained clasped behind his back, his face showing nothing as the words echoed through the vast space. Humanity was guilty, guilty of being too dangerous, guilty of expanding too fast, guilty of adapting too quickly to the ways of the galaxy. The head counselor, a being called Thex, rose from his seat. His scales caught the light as he spoke in the common tongue that all species used. The humans have colonized 40 star systems in 80 years. Most species take 400 years to reach 10 systems. This speed is unnatural. It is dangerous. Taeyang watched him but said nothing. Thex continued. Human military technology grows at rates we cannot predict. They form alliances without permission. They ignore our guidance. They are unpredictable, and unpredictability threatens the peace we have built over 10,000 years. Another counselor stood. This one looked like a floating crystal that pulsed with inner light. We have debated for 3 months. The decision is unanimous. Humanity must be contained before they become a threat we cannot control. The vote appeared on the screens around the chamber. 247 votes in favor of quarantine, 0 against. The humans would be locked in their home system. Every human ship outside the Sol system would be destroyed. All trade would stop. All communication would end. A blockade of 10,000 warships would surround Earth and make sure no human ever left again. Taeyang was given one chance to speak before the sentence began. He stepped forward into the light. His voice was calm and steady. You have made your choice. I understand your fear. Fear makes creatures do what they think is smart. He paused and looked around at all the faces and forms watching him. But you should have done this 20 years ago. The counselors looked at each other. Some seemed confused. Others appeared angry at what sounded like a threat. But Taeyang said nothing more. He simply bowed his head and waited for the guards to escort him away. Within 48 hours, the blockade was in place. 10,000 warships from 100 different species formed a wall around the Sol system. Their weapons were pointed inward. Nothing would escape. On Earth, in the capital city, President Minji sat in her office and watched the news broadcasts. The people were scared. Some were angry. Others were calling for war. But Minji knew something they did not. She had known for 23 years. She pressed a button on her desk. The door opened and a man in a military uniform entered. His name was Hyuk and he commanded Earth's deep space operations, a division that most people thought was just for exploring distant stars. They've completed the blockade, Hyuk said as he sat down. Minji nodded. I saw Thex is very thorough. Should we tell the public? Not yet. Let them think we're trapped. Let the council think they've won. Minji stood and walked to the window. Below, the city stretched for miles. Billions of people going about their lives, not knowing that everything was about to change. How many ships have reported in? Hyuk pulled out a small device and checked the screen. 3,218. More are waking up every day. Good. Minji turned back to him. And the council suspects nothing? Nothing. Their intelligence networks show no unusual activity. As far as they know, all humans are either on Earth or in the colonies they already found. Minji allowed herself a small smile. Then we proceed as planned. Send the activation codes to all the sleeper ships. It's time for them to wake up. Far away, in a region of space that no council ship had ever visited, something stirred in the darkness. It looked like an asteroid, just another piece of rock tumbling through the void. But inside, lights began to turn on. Captain Jiwon opened her eyes. The cryo chamber hissed as it released her. Her body felt stiff, but the drugs in her system quickly cleared the fog from her mind. She sat up and looked around. The chamber was full of pods, and in each one another human was beginning to wake. A computer voice spoke in Korean. Welcome, Captain Jiwon. You have been in cryo-sleep for 23 years, 4 months, and 17 days. The ship has reached its destination. All systems are functioning. Awaiting your orders. Jiwon climbed out of the pod and walked to the command center. Her legs were weak, but she had trained for this. The ship was called the Eternal Autumn, and it had been disguised as an asteroid for more than 2 decades. Slowly drifting through space while she and 5,000 other humans slept. She sat in the captain's chair and brought up the displays. Outside, a star system appeared on the screen. 4 planets orbited a yellow sun. Two of them were in the habitable zone, rich in water and minerals. Perfect for a new home. Computer status of other vessels? Unable to confirm. Quantum communications are offline per protocol. Would you like to activate them? Not yet. Ji-won studied the planets. First we build, then we talk. She pressed a button and spoke to the ship. Wake everyone up. Begin deployment of survey drones. I want full scans of all 4 planets within the week. The computer acknowledged, and throughout the ship, 5,000 cryopods began opening. Engineers, scientists, soldiers, farmers, teachers, and families. All of them had volunteered for a one-way trip. All of them knew they would never see Earth again, but they also knew why they were here. 23 years ago, Earth's government had created Project Dispersal. It was the most classified program in human history. 4,000 ships had been built in secret and sent to 4,000 different star systems. Each ship carried 5,000 people, complete terraform equipment, weapons factories, and full archives of everything humanity had ever learned. The ships were disguised. Some looked like broken freighters, others like mining drones or research vessels. Some were hidden inside hollowed asteroids. Each one drifted for years, taking slow routes that no one would think to follow. And each one had orders to stay hidden until the time was right. 20 million humans were scattered across the galaxy, and the Council had no idea they existed. Back in the Council chambers, Thek stood before the great window and watched the stars. He felt satisfied. The human threat had been contained. Their expansion was stopped. The galaxy was safe, but deep inside a small voice whispered doubt. What had the human ambassador meant? Why should they have acted 20 years ago? Thex pushed the thought away. It did not matter now. The humans were trapped. The blockade would hold forever if necessary. There was nothing they could do. He was wrong. The eternal autumn floated in the darkness, no longer pretending to be a simple asteroid. Its outer shell had opened like a flower, revealing the sleek colony ship hidden inside. Captain Ji-won stood on the bridge and watched as smaller ships detached and flew toward the nearest planet. Survey Team 1 has entered the atmosphere, reported the communications officer. Her name was Yoonji, and before the long sleep she had been one of Earth's best geneticists. Now she was learning to operate a ship's systems. Everyone had multiple jobs in the new colonies. Ji-won nodded. Tell them to focus on the southern continent. The scans show liquid water and stable weather patterns. Yes, Captain. It had been 6 days since the crew woke up. 6 days of checking systems, deploying equipment, and making sure everything still worked after 23 years of drift. So far, they had been lucky. The ship was in good condition, and the planet below looked even better than the old surveys had promised. But Ji-won could not relax. Not yet. They were alone out here, 340 light-years from Earth. If something went wrong, no one would come to help them. They had to be perfect, Captain, Yoonji said suddenly. I'm getting strange readings from the 3rd planet. What kind of readings? Artificial structures, very old. Maybe thousands of years. Yoonji brought up images on the main screen. Ruins covered in dust and time. Massive buildings that had long ago fallen silent. There was a civilization here once. Ji-won leaned forward. Are they still active? No signs of life. No energy signatures. Whatever they were, they're gone now. Send a team to investigate. But carefully. I want to know what happened to them. Ji-won felt a chill run down her spine. An entire civilization had died in this system. She wondered if humans would do better. Across the galaxy, in a different sector, another ship was waking up. This one had hidden inside a massive nebula, using the clouds of gas and dust to mask its presence. Captain Doyen walked through the corridors and inspected his crew. Unlike Ji-won's colony ship, Doyen's vessel was designed for construction. It carried minimal colonists but maximum industrial equipment. His mission was not to build a home. It was to build a fleet. How long until the shipyard is operational? He asked his chief engineer. 2 months if we work around the clock. We have everything we need in the asteroid belt nearby. Iron, titanium, rare metals. This system is perfect for manufacturing. Doyen smiled. Then let's get to work. His ship, called Refuge Point, began extending massive arms that reached out and grabbed nearby asteroids. Automated systems started breaking them down, separating useful metals from worthless rock. Within hours, the first raw materials were being processed. Doyen had been a military officer before Project Dispersal. He understood what was coming. Earth had sent out 4,000 ships, but they were not all the same. Some were colony ships like the Eternal Autumn. Others were factory ships like Refuge Point. Some carried scientists. Others carried soldiers. Each ship had a specific purpose in the grand plan. The plan was simple: spread humanity so far across the galaxy that no one could ever destroy them all. Then wait, build in secret, grow strong, and when the Council finally realized what had happened, it would be too late to stop it. "Captain," his communications officer called out, "I'm receiving a quantum signal." Doyen turned quickly. "From where?" "I don't know. The system is very slow, but it's definitely quantum entangled communication. Someone else is awake." Quantum communication was almost impossible to detect. It did not travel through normal space, so there was no signal to intercept, but it was also very slow. Messages could take hours or even days to transmit. Earth had given each ship a set of quantum communicators linked to other vessels, but they were supposed to stay silent until the right moment. "Can you trace it?" "No, sir. But the encryption matches our protocols." "It's another human ship." Doyen felt relief wash over him. They were not alone. Somewhere out there, other humans were waking up and beginning their work. "Acknowledge the signal. Tell them Refuge Point is operational, then maintain silence unless they have something urgent." "Yes, sir." Back on Earth, President Minji sat in a secret bunker deep beneath the capital. Around her, holographic displays showed data from across the galaxy. Each point of light represented a ship that had reported in. The map was filling up quickly. Commander Hyuk stood beside her. 3,800 ships have activated. Another 1,000 should come online within the month. And the Council? Their blockade is holding steady. They're scanning everything that tries to leave the Sol system, but they're not looking outward. They think all humans are either here or in the 40 systems they already know about. Minji studied the map. 23 years ago, she had been a young senator when the plan was proposed. The idea seemed insane at the time. Send millions of people away in secret, lie to the galaxy, pretend Earth was the only place humans existed. But the alternative was worse. Humanity had been expanding fast, too fast for the old species to accept. Minji and the others knew it was only a matter of time before the Council tried to stop them. So they had created insurance. A backup plan that would guarantee human survival no matter what happened to Earth. "We need to accelerate the timeline," Minji said quietly. "The Council is already nervous. If they find even one colony before we're ready, everything falls apart. What do you suggest? Send out the activation codes now. Tell all ships to begin Phase 2. No more hiding. Start building infrastructure, weapons, everything. We have maybe 2 years before the Council stumbles onto something." Hyuk hesitated. "That's risky. The more active we are, the more likely they'll detect us." "I know, but we don't have a choice. If we wait too long, we'll be caught unprepared. Better to take control of the timeline ourselves." Minji turned to look at him. "Besides, what are they going to do? They already locked us in our home system. They can't punish us more than they already have." Hyuk smiled grimly. "Fair point." On the Eternal Autumn, Captain Jiwon received the message from Earth. She read it twice to make sure she understood correctly. Then she called her senior staff together. "The orders have changed," she told them. "We're moving to Phase 2 immediately. That means full colonization. Start landing operations. Set up the underground cities. Get the factories running. We have 2 years to become self-sufficient." Yunji raised her hand. "What about the Council? If we start industrial operations, they might detect us. That's a risk we have to take. Earth believes the timeline has moved up. The Council is getting suspicious, and we need to be ready when they find us." "When they find us?" one of the officers asked. "You mean if they find us?" Jiwon shook her head. "No, when it's impossible to hide forever. 4,000 colonies spread across the galaxy. Sooner or later, someone will stumble onto one of us. And when that happens, we need to be strong enough to fight back." The room fell silent. They all knew this moment would come. They had all volunteered knowing they might have to fight and die far from home. But hearing it said out loud made it real. "Get to work," Jiwon said firmly. "We have a lot to do and not much time." In another part of the galaxy, on a ship called Morning Light, a different captain was making similar preparations. Her name was Bora, and her colony had been assigned to a system near Council space, a dangerous location but also a strategic one. Bora watched as her people built the first settlement on a frozen world. They worked in heated suits, constructing buildings that would protect them from the -60-degree temperatures. It was hard work, but no one complained. They had chosen this life. "Captain," her second-in-command said, "we've detected a council ship on the edge of the system." Bora's heart skipped. "What kind of ship?" "Looks like a survey vessel. Small crew. They're scanning the asteroid belt, probably looking for resources. Are they headed our way?" "Not yet. But if they scan the planet, they might detect our settlement." Bora made a quick decision. "Shut down all external communications. Power down everything except life support. Make us as quiet as possible. If they don't see anything interesting, maybe they'll move on." The crew rushed to follow orders. Within minutes, the settlement went dark. The only lights were inside the buildings where people waited and hoped the council ship would pass them by. Hours went by. The council ship continued its survey, moving slowly through the asteroid belt. It came closer to the planet. Then closer still, Bora watched the scanner and prayed to God she did not believe in. Finally, after what felt like forever, the council ship turned and flew away. It jumped to faster than light speed and disappeared. Bora let out a breath she did not know she had been holding. That was too close. Should we report this to Earth? Yes, tell them council ships are surveying this region. We need to be more careful. Across the galaxy, similar events were happening. Human colonies were waking up, building, growing. And slowly, very slowly, they were beginning to connect with each other through the quantum network, a web of communication that the council could not detect. The seeds had been planted 23 years ago. Now they were beginning to sprout. And soon, they would grow into something the galaxy had never seen before. 6 months had passed since Captain Jiwan received the orders from Earth. The colony at New Hanseong, as they had named it, was growing faster than anyone expected. 2 underground cities had been completed on the main planet, each housing over 2,000 people. The factories were running day and night, producing everything from food to weapons, but it was the discovery in the ancient ruins that changed everything. Yoonji walked quickly through the underground corridors until she reached Jiwan's office. She did not bother knocking. "Captain, you need to see this." Jiwan looked up from her reports. "What did you find?" "Something incredible. Come with me." They took a transport vehicle to the surface and then flew to the ruins on the 3rd planet. A team of scientists had been studying the ancient structures for months, trying to understand what had happened to the civilization that built them. Inside the largest building, deep underground, they had found a chamber. The walls were covered in strange symbols and diagrams, but more importantly, they had found a device. It sat in the center of the room, a sphere of metal and crystal that hummed with dormant energy. "We managed to activate it yesterday," Yoonji explained. "It took weeks to figure out the controls, but once we did, the whole thing came to life." "What does it do?" Yoonji smiled. "Watch." She pressed a sequence of buttons on a control panel. The sphere began to glow. Then suddenly, every electronic device in the room shut down. Lights, computers, communicators. Everything died, then just as quickly they came back on. "It's an electromagnetic pulse weapon," Yoonji said excitedly, "but more advanced than anything we have. It can be focused on specific targets and it doesn't cause permanent damage. It just shuts things down temporarily." Jiwan stared at the device. "Can we replicate it?" "We already have. The factories are building 36 units right now. Imagine what this could do against council ships. We could disable entire fleets without destroying them." For the first time in months, Jiwan felt hope. If they could defend themselves, maybe they had a chance. "Good work. Keep studying the ruins. There might be more technology we can use." Meanwhile, in another sector, Captain Doyen's shipyard at Refuge Point had completed its first vessel. It was a warship, sleek and deadly, built using human designs and stealth technology that the Council had never seen. The ship could hide its energy signature and move through space almost invisible to scanners. Doyen stood in the command center and watched as the ship, named Silent Strike, launched for its first test flight. Everything worked perfectly. The engines were powerful, the weapons were accurate, and most importantly, the stealth systems made it nearly impossible to detect. "How many more can we build?" he asked his chief engineer. "At current production rates, 1 ship every 3 weeks. If we expand the shipyard, maybe 1 per week. Then expand. We need a fleet, not just 1 ship." While the shipyard expanded, Doyen had another project. His scouts had made contact with a species called the Velkin. They were a peaceful people who lived in 3-star systems nearby. The Council ruled over them but treated them poorly. The Velkin had resources the Council wanted, but they received little in return. Doyen met with their leader, an elderly Velkin named Rena, in secret. They spoke through translators on a small moon where no one would detect them. "Why should we trust you?" Rena asked. "The Council says humans are dangerous." "The Council is afraid of us because we don't follow their rules," Doyen replied honestly. "But we're not your enemy. We both want the same thing, freedom. Freedom comes at a cost, yes, but slavery costs more." Rena was quiet for a long time. Then she nodded. "What do you need from us?" "Information. Tell us where the Council stations their ships, where their supply lines run, what their weaknesses are. In return, we'll give you technology, protection, and when the time comes, independence. You promise this?" "I promise," the Velkin agreed. Over the next few months, they provided Doyen with detailed intelligence about Council operations in their sector. In return, his colony gave them advanced farming equipment, medical supplies, and defensive weapons. It was a small alliance, but it was a start. Back on Earth, President Minji received daily reports from the colonies. 3,000 ships had established settlements. Another 1,000 were still in early construction phases. The quantum network was growing stronger, allowing colonies to share information and coordinate their efforts. But Commander Hyuk brought troubling news one morning. "The Council is getting suspicious," he said. "Several of their survey ships have reported anomalies, unexplained signals, missing patrol vessels. They don't know what's causing it yet, but they're investigating." Minji frowned. "Which colonies are at risk?" "At least a dozen in the outer sectors. If the Council sends investigation teams, they'll find them. Tell those colonies to prepare for contact. If the Council shows up, they are authorized to defend themselves. That could start a war. The war already started the moment they put a blockade around Earth. We're just waiting for the Council to realize it." 3 weeks later, Captain Jiwan's worst fears came true. A Council patrol ship entered the new Hanseong system. It was a large vessel with powerful sensors and enough firepower to destroy a small planet. The patrol ship began scanning the system, moving slowly from planet to planet. Jiwan watched from the underground command center as it drew closer to their main colony world. "They're going to find us," Yoonji said nervously. "I know." Jiwan turned to her tactical officer. "Prepare the EMP devices. If they detect us, we hit them before they can report back." "Captain, that's a Council ship. If we attack it, they'll send more. And if we let them report our location, they'll send a fleet to destroy us. Either way, we fight. I'd rather choose when and how." Jiwan's voice was steady, but inside her heart was racing. This was the moment she had trained for. The moment every colony captain feared. The Council ship reached their planet. Its scanners swept across the surface. Then suddenly it stopped moving. "They found us," the tactical officer reported. "They're charging weapons and preparing to send a message." "Hit them now," Jiwan ordered. 3 satellites in orbit around the planet activated. They had been disguised as debris, but each one carried an EMP device built from the ancient alien technology. All 3 fired at once, targeting the Council ship. The ship's lights went out. Its engines stopped. It began drifting in space, completely dead. "Direct hit," the tactical officer confirmed. "All their systems are offline." "How long until they recover?" "The EMP causes temporary shutdown. Maybe 30 minutes, that was not enough time. The ship would recover and send its message, and then the entire Council would know about New Hanseong. Jiwan made the hardest decision of her life. "Target their communication array. Destroy it." Weapons fired from hidden platforms on the planet's surface. Missiles streaked through space and struck the Council ship. The communication array exploded in a burst of fire and metal. "Communications destroyed," the tactical officer said quietly. "They can't call for help." "What about the crew?" "Life support is still functional. They're alive." Jiwan sat down heavily. She had just attacked a Council ship. There was no going back now. Send a team to board them. Take the crew prisoner. Salvage everything useful from the ship, then destroy it. Make it look like an accident. "Yes, Captain." 2 hours later, the Council ship was gone, broken into pieces that looked like it had hit an asteroid field. The crew of 70 aliens were imprisoned in a secure facility underground. And New Hanseong had gained valuable intelligence about Council technology and operations. But Jiwan knew this was just the beginning. The Council would send another patrol when this one did not report back. and then another. Eventually, they would figure out what was happening. She sent a quantum message to Earth and all other colonies. We've been discovered. Council ship destroyed. Expecting retaliation, all colonies should prepare for combat. The message took 6 hours to reach Earth. When President Minji read it, she immediately called an emergency meeting with her advisors. It started, she said simply. The Council will be looking for us now. They'll find more colonies, and when they do, there will be battles. Should we reveal ourselves? One advisor asked. Tell the Council that we have colonies everywhere? No, let them find out slowly. Every day we buy is another day our colonies get stronger. Minji looked at Commander Hayuk. Send the activation code for Phase 3 to all ships. What's Phase 3? Phase 2 was building and hiding. Phase 3 is showing the Council why they should have left us alone. Minji's expression was hard. Tell every colony to stop hiding. If the Council wants to hunt us, let's make them regret it. The message went out across the quantum network. 4,000 colonies received the same order. Stop hiding. Start fighting. Show the galaxy what humanity could do when pushed into a corner. In orbit around the Velkin homeworld, Captain Doyen smiled when he received the message. He had been waiting for this. The Silent Strike and its sister ships were ready. His alliance with the Velkin was strong, and he knew exactly where to strike first. Prepare the fleet, he ordered. We're going to war. The council chamber was in chaos. Councillor Thex stood at the center while angry voices shouted from all sides. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy, and none of them made sense. 3 more patrol ships have vanished in the Keth sector, reported a councillor from the insect-like Chithar species. No distress signals, no debris. They simply disappeared. We lost an entire supply convoy near the Velkin systems, added another. 20 cargo ships and their escorts. All gone. And there are reports of unknown vessels attacking our mining operations in 4 different sectors, said a third. Small ships fast, impossible to track. Thex raised his hand for silence. When the room finally quieted, he spoke. How is this possible? We have 10,000 ships blockading Earth. The humans are contained. That's what we thought, said the Chithar counselor. But our intelligence has discovered something. The humans we've been seeing, the ones attacking our ships, they're not from Earth. Their technology is different. Their ship designs are unknown to us. Then where are they from? No one had an answer. A junior analyst stepped forward nervously. Counselor, I have a theory. It sounds impossible, but it fits the data. Speak. What if the humans sent out colony ships before we quarantined them? What if they've been building settlements in secret for years? The room fell silent. Then everyone started talking at once. The idea was ridiculous, impossible. How could humans hide entire colonies? Where would they get the resources? How many ships would they need? But the more Thex thought about it, the more sense it made. He remembered the human ambassador's final words. You should have done this 20 years ago. 20 years. What if they had been preparing even then? How many colonies could they have? Thex asked the analyst. Unknown, sir. But if they started planning decades ago, and if they used automated ships, disguised vessels, slow routes that avoided our patrols. The analyst's voice trailed off. Theoretically, they could have hundreds. Maybe thousands. The room erupted again. Counselors demanded action. Some called for total war against humanity. Others suggested negotiation. A few even argued that humanity should be left alone, that trying to contain them had been a mistake from the start. Thex made his decision. Form 50 purge fleets. Each fleet will have 200 warships. Send them to search every star system within 500 light-years of known human colonies. Find these settlements and destroy them. All of them? One counselor asked. Even if there are civilians? The humans made themselves our enemy when they defied the quarantine. We will not show mercy. The order went out. Within days, 50 massive fleets departed council space, each one hunting for human colonies. The galaxy had seen many wars, but never one like this. A war where the enemy was hidden among the stars, invisible until they struck. Captain Jiwan received warning that a purge fleet was approaching New Hanseong. The fleet had 200 ships, each more powerful than anything her colony possessed. She had maybe 40 small defense vessels and the EMP weapons from the ancient ruins. It was not enough. We need to evacuate, Yunji said. Get everyone to the transport ships. We can run and go where? Jiwan asked. They'll just follow us. And if we abandon New Hansong, everything we built here is lost. Better lost than dead. Jiwan looked at the tactical display. The purge fleet would arrive in 6 hours. She had to make a choice. Fight and probably die, or run and definitely lose their home. She thought about the ancient aliens who had built the ruins. They had disappeared, their civilization destroyed. Jiwan did not want humanity to suffer the same fate. But she also would not give up without a fight. Evacuate the children and non-combatants. Get them to the backup sites. Everyone else stays. We're going to hold this colony. Captain, that's suicide. Maybe, but I didn't come 300 light years just to run away the first time someone threatened us. Jiwan turned to her tactical officer. Deploy every EMP satellite we have. Set up the missile batteries. And send a message to any human ships in range. Tell them we need help. The message reached Captain Doyen at Refuge Point. He was 3 weeks away at best, but he did not hesitate. Take every ship we have. Full speed to New Hanseong. Captain, we only have 15 combat vessels. Against a purge fleet of 200? Then we'll have to be creative. Doyen studied the star charts. Send a message to Rena. Ask the Velkin to help us. And contact every human colony in the sector. It's time to see if our network is worth anything. 6 hours later, the purge fleet arrived at New Hanseong. The council commander, a being called Vorath, expected an easy victory. A small human colony with minimal defenses. They would destroy it in minutes and move on to the next target. But when his fleet entered the system, everything went wrong. First, 30 EMP satellites activated at once. Half his fleet lost power immediately, ships drifting helplessly in space. Then missiles came from hidden platforms on the planet and nearby moons, targeting the ships that were still functional. Vorath watched in shock as 20 of his vessels exploded. Return fire, he ordered. Destroy those platforms. But before his gunners could target the platforms, they vanished. The humans had built them on mobile bases that could move and hide. His fleet was shooting at ghosts. Then things got worse. 15 human warships appeared from behind the system's gas giant, ships that his sensors had not detected. They were small but fast, using strange technology that made them nearly invisible. The ships attacked his fleet from behind, targeting engines and weapon systems. Where did they come from? Vorath demanded. Unknown, sir. They're not in our database. These designs are completely new. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, Vorath had lost 68 ships, more than a third of his fleet. The humans had lost 5 vessels. It was a disaster. But worse than the losses was what happened next. As Vorath prepared to retreat, his communications officer reported something impossible. Sir, we're receiving a transmission. It's being broadcast on all frequencies. From the humans? Yes, sir. They want to talk. Captain Jiwan's face appeared on every screen in the purge fleet. She looked tired but determined. Council fleet, this is Captain Jiwan of New Hanseong. You came here to destroy us. You failed. Now I'm giving you a choice. Leave this system and tell your leaders that humanity will not be intimidated. Or stay and die. You have 1 hour to decide. Vorath was furious. A human giving me orders. Fire everything! Destroy that planet. But his second-in-command stopped him. Sir, we've lost too many ships. If we continue, they might destroy us completely. We should retreat and request reinforcements. Vorath wanted to argue, but he knew the truth. His fleet was broken. The humans had beaten him. It was humiliating, but it was reality. Retreat, he said bitterly. But this isn't over. The purge fleet left New Hanseong. When they reported back to the council, the news sent shockwaves through the government. The humans had not just survived, they had won. And if one small colony could defeat a purge fleet, what could hundreds of colonies do? Counselor Thex demanded answers. How did they get such advanced weapons? Where did those warships come from? The intelligence officer showed him recordings from the battle. The EMP technology is unlike anything we've seen. It appears to be based on ancient alien designs, and the warships, they were built locally. The humans are manufacturing their own fleet. Impossible. They've only been out there for a few years at most. No, sir. Based on the size of their infrastructure, we estimate some colonies have been active for decades. 20 years or more. Thex felt cold. 20 years. The human ambassador had tried to warn them. But Thex had not listened, and now it was too late. The humans were not hiding anymore. They were fighting back, and they were winning. Over the next 3 months, more purge fleets encountered human colonies. Some battles went in the council's favor, but many did not. The humans were learning. adapting, sharing information across their quantum network. Every defeat taught them something new. Every victory made them stronger. And then Captain Doyon struck his first major blow. Using his stealth ships and the intelligence provided by the Velkin, Doyon located a major council shipyard in the Keth sector. It was one of the largest production facilities in the region, building warships for the Purge fleets. Doyon attacked with 20 ships. They appeared from nowhere, disabled the defenses with EMP weapons, and destroyed the shipyard with precise missile strikes. Then they vanished before reinforcements could arrive. The loss crippled council ship production in an entire sector. It would take years to rebuild. When news of the attack reached Earth, President Minji allowed herself a small smile. The plan was working. The Council had tried to contain humanity, but instead they had created exactly what they feared. A distributed, resilient, angry enemy that could strike from anywhere and disappear into the vastness of space. She broadcast a message to all colonies. Phase 3 is proceeding better than expected. Continue operations. Show the Council that humanity cannot be caged. In the Council chambers, Thex stared at the star maps. Red markers indicated confirmed human colonies. There were already 200 marked, and reports suggested there were many more still hidden. How many colonies did they have? Where were they all? And most importantly, how could the Council stop them? For the first time in his long life, Thex felt fear. True deep fear, because he was beginning to realize that maybe they could not stop humanity. Maybe it really was already too late. The emergency council session had been going for 6 hours. Counselor Thex looked at the faces around him and saw what he felt. Exhaustion, fear, and anger. The war against humanity was not going as anyone had planned. Show them the numbers, he said to his assistant. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed the galaxy divided into sectors. Red markers indicated confirmed human colonies. There were 4,000 of them. The chamber fell silent. 4,000 colonies, Thex said quietly. We have confirmed 4,000 separate human settlements across the galaxy. Each one has between 5,000 and 50,000 people. That means the human population is not 30 billion on Earth anymore. It's over 50 billion, spread across 4,000 star systems. A counselor from the aquatic Dalmor species spoke up. How did we not know? How did they hide this from us? They sent the ships out decades ago. Small vessels, disguised or hidden. They took routes we never patrolled. By the time we quarantined Earth, the colonies were already established and growing. So what do? Asked another counselor. We've sent 50 purge fleets. They've destroyed maybe a dozen colonies. But every time we attack, the humans fight back harder. They're learning our tactics. They're building better weapons. And they're making allies with species we've subjugated. That was the part that worried Thex most. The Velkin had openly sided with humanity. 2 other minor species had followed. The Council's authority was being challenged not just by humans, but by the species who had always been under Council control. We have 2 options, Thex said. Total war or negotiation? Total war, said a counselor immediately. Exterminate every human colony. Yes, it will take years, maybe decades, but it's the only way to ensure they never threaten us again. That would require committing every ship we have, another counselor pointed out. And during that time, what happens to our own systems? Who protects our trade routes? Who maintains order? Then we negotiate, suggested the Dalmor counselor. We offer them limited independence in exchange for peace. You want to reward them for defying us? I want to end this war before it destroys us all. The argument continued for hours, but no consensus could be reached. The council was divided. Some wanted humanity destroyed. Others wanted peace. And a growing number were beginning to question whether the council itself was the problem. While the council debated, Ambassador Ta Yang walked through the corridors of the council station. He had been released from house arrest 3 days ago, part of a goodwill gesture. But he knew the real reason. The council wanted to negotiate, and they needed him. He entered a private conference room where Thex was waiting. Ambassador, Thex said. Please sit. Ta Yang sat but said nothing. He simply waited. You knew, Thex said after a moment. You knew about the colonies. That's why you told us we should have acted 20 years ago. Yes. How many are there, really? 4,000 confirmed settlements. But we sent out more ships than that. Some failed. Some are still traveling. Some might have founded colonies we haven't heard from yet. Ta Yang met Thex's eyes. The exact number doesn't matter. What matters is that you can't destroy them all. You don't have enough ships. You don't have enough time. And every day this war continues, more species start to wonder if the Council is worth following. Thex's scales rippled with anger. You played us. You made us fear you, then used that fear against us. We survived. That was all that mattered. Taiyang leaned forward. But I'm not here to argue about the past. I'm here because Earth wants to negotiate. The colonies want peace, do you? What are your terms? The blockade around Earth ends immediately. All human colonies are recognized as sovereign territory. Humanity gets equal representation on the Council. And the Council reforms its government to give minor species more voice. That's asking for everything. No. We're asking for what we earned. You tried to cage us and failed. Now you have to accept that humanity is a major power in this galaxy. Taiyang stood. I'll give you 3 days to decide. After that, we stop negotiating and start taking what we want. Before Thex could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red. A voice over the intercom announced, all Council members to the command center immediately. We are under attack. Thex and Taiyang ran to the command center. The screen showed chaos. 5 human warships had appeared from nowhere and were attacking Council positions throughout the sector. But these weren't raids on minor outposts. These were strikes on core Council worlds. How did they get this deep into Council space? Thex demanded. They're stealth technology, sir. We can't detect them until they're already firing. One of the targets was a Council military academy. Another was a major trading hub. The attacks were precise and devastating. The humans destroyed military targets but avoided civilian casualties. They were sending a message. We can hurt you whenever we want, wherever we want. Then something appeared on the screens that made Thex's blood run cold. A massive human fleet had jumped into the system near one of the Council's core worlds. Not a raiding force. A full invasion fleet with hundreds of ships. That's impossible, Thex whispered. Where did they get that many ships? They've been building them for 20 years, Taiyang said calmly. In 4,000 systems, each one producing ships, weapons, resources. Did you really think a few dozen purge fleets could stop that? The human fleet did not attack the planet. Instead, it broadcast a message. The face that appeared on every screen was Captain Doyen's. Council leadership, this is Admiral Doyen of the Free Human Confederation. Our fleet is currently in position around your core world of Thexvara. We have the capability to destroy every military installation on this planet. But we're not here to kill anyone. We're here to make you understand something. This war ends now, not because you won, not because we're tired of fighting, but because if it continues, we will win, and you will lose everything. Doyen paused, letting his words sink in. We're proposing a new agreement. The Galactic Assembly, a government where every species has a voice, not just the powerful ones, where laws are made fairly, not by the species with the biggest fleets, and where humanity takes its place as an equal member. You have 24 hours to respond. If you refuse, we will begin liberating every world under Council control, starting with this one. The transmission ended. Thex looked at the screens showing the human fleet. Hundreds of warships, all carrying weapons that could devastate his homeworld. He had never felt so helpless. You planned this, he said to Taiyang. The attacks, the fleet, the timing. This was all coordinated. Of course it was. We're not barbarians, Thex, we're strategic. We waited until we were strong enough. Then we struck when and where it would hurt most. Taiyang walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Your people spent 10,000 years building an empire. We did it in 23, because that's what humans do. We adapt, we build, we survive. The next 24 hours were the longest of Thex's life. The Council debated frantically. Some still wanted to fight, but most knew the truth. If they continued this war, they would lose. The humans had outmaneuvered them at every turn. They had hidden, built, allied with others, and struck when the Council was most vulnerable. Finally, with 2 hours left before the deadline, the Council voted. 183 species voted in favor of negotiation. 64 voted against. It was enough. Thex sent the message personally. Admiral Doyen, Ambassador Taiyang, the Council accepts your terms. We will negotiate the formation of the Galactic Assembly. We will end the blockade of Earth. We will recognize human colonies as sovereign territory. The war was over, not with humanity's destruction, but with their acceptance. The galaxy had tried to contain them and failed. Now it had no choice but to make room for them. 3 months later, the first Galactic Assembly convened. It looked different from the old council. The chamber was round, with no elevated seats for powerful species. Every representative sat at the same level. Humans, Velkin, Dalmor, Chyther, and hundreds of others, all equal under the new laws. Taeyang was elected as the first Assembly Chancellor. In his inaugural speech, he spoke about the future, about cooperation instead of domination, about diversity instead of uniformity, about a galaxy where every species could thrive without fear. President Minji watched the speech from Earth. The blockade was gone. Human ships traveled freely again. The colonies were no longer hidden but celebrated. She had achieved what seemed impossible 23 years ago. She had saved humanity. She stepped down as president the next day. Her work was done. Captain Jiwon returned to New Hanseong. The colony had grown to 100,000 people. Children played in parks built under the planet's surface. Schools taught human history alongside Velkin culture. Factories produced goods for trade, not war. It was peaceful. It was home. One day, a young boy named Ha-jun, who had been born on New Hanseong, asked her about the war. "Captain Jiwon, were you scared when the council came?" Jiwon smiled. "Yes, I was terrified. But you fought anyway. That's what humans do. We're scared, but we fight anyway. We're weak, but we build anyway. We're alone, but we reach out anyway." She put her hand on the boy's shoulder. "Remember that, Ha-jun. The galaxy tried to put us in a cage. But cages can't hold dreams, and humans will always dream of more." Far away, in a private meeting room, Counselor Thex met with Taeyang one last time. They were not enemies anymore. Not quite friends, but they understood each other. "You planned this from the beginning," Thex said. "It was not a question. We planned for survival. Everything else came after." Taeyang poured them both drinks. "You asked me once how many more colonies there are that you don't know about. I remember. The answer is enough. Always enough." Taeyang raised his glass. "To the future. May we build it together instead of fighting over it." Thex hesitated. Then he raised his own glass. "To the future." They drank. And outside the windows, the stars shined on a galaxy that was different now, changed by the species that refused to be contained. The species that spread like wildfire through the darkness, bringing light wherever they went. The Council had tried to outlaw humanity. They had tried to cage them, contain them, control them. But they had learned the hardest lesson in the galaxy. You cannot stop something that is already everywhere. It was already too late.